Hello, my name is Andy Eubank, President of Floresville Economic Development Corp. It is 6:35. Call meeting, the regular meeting for October 14, 2013. Is City Hall for Floresville Economic Development Corporation. On establishing quorum, we had David Drozier, Ray Lambert, Jason Talley, and Andy Eubank. Sorry about that. We have a quorum, so if you would, let's all stand for the invocation, and Jason is your leader. I appreciate that. To applaud by the pledge and take the pledge.
Dear God, we just thank you for this day. We thank you, Lord, for the blessings you give us. And we just pray, God, that you would allow us to conduct business here in the most appropriate manner, be good stewards of the city's money. And we just pray that you would provide us opportunities here and in the future as we try to develop the great things of this community. We thank you, Lord, especially for the rain. It's a great blessing to see rain, and it's such a wonderful thing to see green grass everywhere. We just know that you're in control of all things. In Jesus Christ, I pray. Amen. Well,
We have flag, but we have a short flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you. Please be seated. Do we have anyone want to make citizen comments at this time? Yes, I'll be with them about that. We'll do that first. Anyone else have any citizen comments? If not, we're going to go to the old business. First item is the approval of minutes from September 9th, 2013. And I guess we have the minutes. Have you passed the minutes out? I'll use that right. Is there any addition, correction to the minutes? May I ask for a motion to approve the minutes or to correct them, please?
I'll make a motion or move to approve the meeting minutes from September 9th, 2013.
I have a motion and by Jason Talley and second by Ray Lambert to approve the minutes for September 9, 2013. Any other comment? Question? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion approved. Mr. Jason Talley, you want to go over the treasurer's report?
Yes. Did everybody get the reconciliation statement or copy more? Okay, first let's just kind of start with the check details. Have that should be attached there. And, looking at those minutes, last month was a very busy month coming to the end of September. But we made some decisions in the last meeting to pay some things off. And so what you're gonna see there, the first item, of course, with Verizon, that's the phone, of course. Then we have fencing costs that was paid for and agreed upon in those minutes for the fence issue on the hike and bike trail. This, as well as the $86,557.20, that was the principal payment on the bond issue that we have. In March, interest is paid, and then this was the principal payment. Okay? So, if you notice, it's coded there incorrectly. That actually just should be debt service, which we corrected it on this profit and loss statement, okay? So that $86,000 check, $586,557.20 was part of that bond payment.
Okay, Jason,
Yes.
typically on bonds, you pay the principal and interest once a year and you pay the interest 6 months.
Well, in that
You know,
case, and
but
that's
this-
what it was, so that's actually what it is.
Okay,
It
it is
was
principal and
interest,
interest.
and then this is principal and interest,
Okay.
yes. Okay, so, but we did have well, you'll see it when you look at the debt service, you see
Okay.
what we paid in March. If you add those two together, that's the total amount, okay? Fuel, electric, then you see the debt paid off for the Rancho Grande Industrial Park property. That was the remaining debt to be paid in full, which we agreed upon to make that payment. Payroll, cleaning, at the beer warehouse, accounting services. Variant Partners, that was split between work that was done. About 1,400 of that amount was applied to the Veterans Park sewer line extension. The remaining part, Ram, where was that?
Rancho Grande.
Yeah, Rancho Grande for streets, and doing that boring study and things like that. So that was split between two properties. The McCoys amount finally came in. We were hoping that that would be below the 125. We had a contract with them up to no more than 125. The amount came in to what, 137?
137.
So, we paid no more than our obligations, so that came due. And then the 60,000 is for the street issue we addressed at McCoy's.
Yeah, right.
And then, of course, general legal with Howard Berger, okay?
And I think that the Coy Creek came in at 60,900 or something. It was a little bit more, but I capped it at 60.
Right.
Okay.
The only thing that you're gonna see in the money market activity is just, dollars pulled out of that account to fund some of these obligations listed there. And then, of course, sales tax received, deposited. So, that's kind of the activity for the month of September. A lot of things done, but at least those are some of the big items that we have, and one of those being the debt on the Rancho Grande Park will go away, okay?
Jason, on that deposit in the money market for the sales tax on 9/26,
Mhm.
what month is that for? Are they current with us? No, they're not current.
Well,
That's probably August.
This is August.
yeah, we just talked about that today at the office. I talked to Tommy about, we need to get that literally in the month that it comes due or comes available to the city. So, we're getting it a little delayed, so I was talking to Tommy about maybe getting with whoever we need to get with, Laura, city manager, and possibly just discuss that, okay? But the other thing I asked too is, they provide, or they do a spreadsheet of all the different months, and I've asked for that spreadsheet all the way through the end of September, so we can make sure, our dollars are matching what they say they should be.
Good point.
The only thing I want to make mention of is that, we have a debt payment that comes, or a note payment that comes from those senior Paloma villages. We've noticed that we weren't receiving some of those payments, and he's paid us now all the way through November, okay? So he's paid us money in advance, and so Ram, or I don't know if it was Tommy that reached out prior to maybe Tommy getting here, but his wife had died, he usually handled that. So, understanding that, of course, he wasn't quite sure on where he was on that, so he sent us more than we really had owed, but I talked to Tommy today to note that, so we know that, you know, we're gonna be paid up on that.
And I'll inform him.
Yeah, and so we talked about too today, those amounts and when they should come in, so that he's aware of when that payment should come in. Okay, so, this is a full year, and, from October 1 through September 30th, and, you're gonna see, these items, like the debt service is on page, well, let's just start on page 3. You can see where the, McCoy's down there at, a little more than half of the way down, shows 125,000 on the sewer for the boring extension, the street. Engineering, of course, was put into the category of engineering. Like I mentioned, some of the engineering fees were split amongst the business park and the Veterans Park. So you'll see on the Veterans Park a certain amount for engineering. Let's see what else. The debt. We do need to correct that because it does show principal, but I guess that particular payment was interest and principal because that's actually what it said on the printout. But I mistakenly told Kathy that it probably didn't be reported principal, but that is correct. It's principal and interest. You show there where the total payment was to the Martin property. That $194,000 includes also the existing payments we were making, of course, and then the $146 was added to the existing amount, come up to the $194,317. The only thing that we noted or saw that we provided Wells Fargo the payoff amount, but then also they pulled out a payment, and the check still has not cleared. Is that correct?
Right.
So do you have any further information on that?
No, we need to go.
So, you know, that payoff was good for, I think it was even, well, I know it was at least 10 days. And as soon as we cut the check, Ram took that over there to the bank. Well, that check should have been in there that night. So we need to get with them, and I'll talk to Tommy about that today. Because the payments were set up on a bank draft. You know, we completed all the paperwork we needed to wrap that loan up. So we'll see
Then
what's
it's
going on
not
from
the
there.
grant.
Yeah. That's really all I have. You know, I intended on meeting with Laura today. She was not in the office today, but we'll be working on making sure we get all of our financial stuff wrapped up, moving into the new year.
So as of October 1st, they're now doing it, correct?
Yeah, we're gonna be starting as of 10/1, so, you know, the first paycheck is gonna be coming through her for the paycheck for Tom. Any other questions?
Very good.
Good job, sir.
A lot more detail than what we used to have, that's for sure.
Yes, sir. Mighty fine job. I can't even read this.
Can I have a motion that we approve the treasurer's report?
I make a motion to approve the treasurer's report as read by Jason Downey.
I'll second that motion. We have a motion and a second. We approve the treasurer's report as presented tonight, which includes the month of September and also a recap of the entire year from October 2012 to September 2013. Is there any further questions? If not, all in favor, please say aye.
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 All opposed, same sign. Motion passed. We have committee report. Jason, you have anything else for
No.
finance? No personnel report. Mary Helen is not here. I will want to report at this time too. She actually had notified us in advance and that she's gonna be out of town on business and asked us to put it on the agenda for that. Somehow miscommunication, it didn't get there, but next month we'll put that on the agenda for her request or approval to miss the meeting. Executive officer's report, I guess we're gonna do it maybe a two-prong, or Tommy can do it all. Mr. Tommy,
Okay.
executive report, please, sir.
All right. And some of these are covered in new business, but the approach I'm taking is I'm gonna do current business, there are 4 items right now, and then new business is actually, I just want to inform you and give you a little information about each new business item, and then we'll address discussion and vote November 11th at our meeting. My cell phone's on order through the city. I don't know when that's supposed to arrive, but I also visited this past week with a very serious prospect in regard to their retention of development in Floresville. They want to remain anonymous, obviously, but they have a land under contract close at the end of the year for a convenience store, car wash, and fuel pumps. And that would be, I mean, their time frame is closing by the end of the year on the land and opening by the fall of 2014. So it'll be another sales tax generator. And I was asked if we had any money to contribute. The guy had already given himself away earlier in the conversation. I knew he was committed, and I said we didn't have funds, we had an earmark for the project. And he was fine with that. The sewer extension to the Whitmire building is over half complete. The city's done a bang-up job getting that done before the rain started. Now all we have is from the corner up to Whitmire, so we'll have that done just as soon as the land dries up. I contacted a Temple mover to move my household goods from Temple to the Oak Hill Apartments November 2nd. He quoted a price of $2,250. Board approved up to $5,000 September the 9th. So we'll make that move and get into a semi-permanent living situation. The beer warehouse rentals are basically occur most every weekend, but I'm going to be meeting with the city manager to see if we can work out some sort of city FEDC agreement to market that property. And one, because we don't need to be in the rental business, and we just, it's, we need them, they need us. So she and I are going to talk and see what how we can get over this. I don't know, either they deed the property to us or we joint market and, split a percentage of the net sales price. It's probably what I'd go by. Looking at, a survey with square footage and saying we have this much and so forth. But under new business, November 11th meeting, I'm going to be requesting a credit card for routine business. I feel like, it depends on the board, but I feel like that the FEDC needs an attorney that is an FEDC attorney. It's worked in the past because real time, that attorney is on the knowledge, is totally in knowledge of everything that happens real time, so that he can advise me and the board about pending issues, things that may be questionable, prepare contracts, review documents, and so between now and November 11th meeting, I'm going to research and try to come up with 2 or 3 candidates that I'd like to present to the board and to ask questions and so forth, and we move forward until we gain, approval of somebody. I don't know what their billing cost would be, but I'm going to do the research to find out what that is. Let's see, by the November 11th meeting, I'm going to present to the board an amended board agenda that more closely follows how we should be conducting meetings, and basically that deals with executive session and open session to executive session, back to open session, voting on executive session items if needed, and I have a format that I'll be working on and then presenting to the board. I'm going to, the next item is, this can wait for a vote on November 11th, but I would like to, I'd like to erect a for sale sign at lot 4, no, yeah, well, to put on lot 4 out at the Veterans Park lots site to advertise, and this would be the sign language here, and then each time we sell, we'll put a big red sold sign, so that shows that there's movement, and you better hurry up if you want a place in here. The cost estimates, I've gotten 2 so far, and one is $190 for this, a 4x8 sign on post. I wanted 4 feet off the ground because we have an intermittent issue of trying to get things mowed on time, and I don't want this sign covered up in tall weeds or something. But it'll be on post like a real estate sign would be, and it outlines exactly the acreage and where it would be for anybody that's interested in buying. It also, to me, it also advertises to the public what we're doing, that we're active, we're trying to sell stuff, and we're out there publicly trying to market this property. This can certainly, again, wait until November 11th vote, but I need an expense limit for budgeted expenses that I have authorization to approve, rather than have to stall the business traffic and mowing or something like that and wait on the next board meeting. So that if I could get board approval on a certain limit, then if it's a budgeted item and it fits within the budget and I meet that, I don't exceed that limit, then I can go ahead and take care of daily things that happen that I'm, and just for instance is the guy that was mowing these lots, there's some real tall weeds, and they've turned into thistles, And he told Ram that he stopped mowing because he had 3 flats from the thistles.
Well, they're not, it's a
Weed
brush,
sash.
yeah,
But
it's not weed sash, it's
That's the
another.
Eeyores on there?
But I've gotten a contractor that told me today that, you know, he would take a ditch witch or a backhoe and dig the roots out, so we permanently have that problem solved for $225. If I had what I'm asking for from the board, I'd have said, get after it. I had to tell him, I'll get back with him. And that just delays
Well,
things that are
and
necessary.
that is gonna be a continual problem unless we spray them or get rid of them. And at this point, you might as well just scoop the ones you
Yeah.
have, before it gets to be a problem.
Right.
Because-
But that's just a for instance of what I'm asking about. Two more. Ram and I talked today about what's left to make a smooth transfer. And right now, we have got to tackle outdated, need of update files in the office. And but he and I have agreed that that could take place and that his last day would be the 25th of the month, if the board finds that acceptable. Ram does, I do, and then of course Ram has offered to be, just call me if there's an issue, which is very, very much appreciated. The last item is that I'll research and present for discussion in the November 11th meeting the need to join Texas Economic Development Council. The TEDC is our industry spokesman for the state. They do a lot of joint projects. They do, they do all kinds of economic development counseling, assistance, and I'm going to find out what the cost is. But most EDCs use them rather than the route of TML.
And we were members, but probably in the whole transitional deal, it probably
Yeah,
lasts.
and if they, with a check, you can catch right up.
Right.
So, and that's all I have.
Okay, so let me go back over and kind of reiterate some of these things. On the credit card, naturally, we cancel that when we lost the permanent, so that shouldn't be an issue for us to come back on that. Some of you may be thinking that we have Howard Berger as an attorney, but he strictly represents us on real estate. He has no desire, no interest, and he is not willing to be considered to become our FEDC legal counsel. So what he's looking at, they're getting a counsel that we could have for meeting questions and things of that nature. Correct me if I'm wrong.
That's right.
Board agenda, while I do not think that we've done anything wrong on the way the agendas are posting, I think we can do better in a more official way to set them up. Just like the meeting tonight, we have it, but there's a better way to do it, I think. Now, signage, on the signs that you're talking about, why don't we may end up, after the night, have some people interested in it, but we have that additional acreage that's back behind here that is being surveyed out now. I would like that to still be on the sign, even if we end up contracting to sell it. It'd be nice to have that
Okay.
on there and put it, is my thought. Let's list all of it. If we do end up going in it, we'll have a, just put a sold
Yeah.
sign on it.
Good point.
Fence limit, very good idea. The 10/25, I think that's a great date, because that will also fall in the November election. We're gonna have some people that automatically roll off, and they should have the election so that they'll be able to appoint and nominate the new officer by then. So, not saying they did, but if Ram would then be available to be reappointed back on, so they never did fill Ram's position when he resigned. So, that'll make it clear. We'll get back so they can put it to 7 that we need on it. And TEDC, yes, that's something we need to do. I think that's an excellent update. Only thing I think is put that on
Yeah,
there.
absolutely.
While we're on that report, and this has to do with the Veterans Park, since we're talking about that, is I know in the past, the city, as you drive down Veterans Park Drive, or that main drive, they always mow both sides of that area there. But do you know how far the ownership of the apartment goes on the left, or is that still a city right of way? Do you know if that's still
That,
on
that
the left as
entrance,
you're driving in?
that entrance is the city.
It's still city, probably up to the fence, okay?
Yeah.
Because, that whole area needs to be.
You know, the street is wider than the actual physical street, correct?
Yeah. And, that short, property that has that house,
Yeah.
belongs, that was part of the cemetery parking.
I wasn't quite sure what is our obligation and theirs. I think that along that street, it's probably the city's obligation.
Yeah, and I'll visit with the city manager about,
Sure. Well, then
See if we can
also,
get that on
we
the
need to
list.
see if the apartment builders, if they could actually go ahead, and that grass is really gonna get thick after this rain. Somebody needs to really mow all of that behind that construction that they're doing, or then there's gonna be a lot of
you know,
mosquito issues.
and
all
just so you all know, I'm gonna propose, maybe in November, a different way to do our, contract services, because, RAM, has been chasing contractors to get them to do stuff, particularly mowing, and we take into account rainy weather, and the soil's gotta dry up and so forth, but even before it rained, Ram's chasing the guy, and embarrassing him, just running into him in a restaurant and saying, he's like, don't worry, I'll get to it, but he never got to it. And I would rather have us in control of the situation and basically say, 3 bids, here's a written job description for you to do every time, and if you do, we'll grant you a 6-month contract, and if you don't, I'm going to cancel the contract, and we'll get somebody else. But then the onus is on the contractor to say, if I want 6 steady months of payments, I'm gonna do my work right, and I'm gonna do it on time, and I'm gonna please the guy that's paying me. Because right now, it's like chase them, and then we still pay them. And I'm just not satisfied with that. I may wind up looking like a fool, but
No, I agree.
I'd rather, go at it and say, here's the carrot, here's what you gotta do, get it done, and you'll get paid for 6 months. You don't have to worry about this account, except you do it right, and I give you 2 strikes and you're out. But, the situation has gotten so bad out at the industrial park that I'm gonna now have to find somebody that, the people burned up clutches because they got this tall grass and they hit it, and then they've got to back off the clutch and let it try to, start up again, the shredder start up again, and leave behind a mess, and said, we don't wanna do it anymore, we burned up 3 clutches, and I'm talking to a guy about doing a higher setting, making a mow, and then doing the lower setting and making a second mow. That I've got to pay him twice to get this stuff down, and then I wanna keep it mowed so we don't have this hay baling, length. But,
Spray it.
what's that?
Get somebody with a pesticide license to spray it. Get it one time it's gone,
We could, but he's talking about the
Waterway.
waterway, so you don't wanna do that.
Yeah, well, that and, the road right-of-ways and so forth, we just need to make it look the way it should.
Yeah, how
for
far is it getting now? Probably getting up there, huh?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's ready to be
And
baled.
they don't understand, instead of taking the whole swath, you just take half of it.
Yeah,
They don't understand that, they gotta take the whole thing.
yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Yeah,
sorry about that.
Thank you for that. We're gonna go on to old business from, prior meeting. consideration action on the interlocal agreement with City of Floresville, the FEDC on present and future projects regarding cost factors and project with city employee equipment, complete job request and all.
What?
Who's presenting this?
Uh,
Has anybody that got this with the,
No.
I haven't
City
seen the
manager
agreement.
yet?
Ram, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but said there was an agreement, but, and there was certainly a meeting of the minds about the cost and everything about the sewer extension to Whitmire, but,
I don't think anything's been put in writing.
No. Well, this has been discussed a lot.
Yes.
And so, and this is before, Mr.
We're
Turner,
leading-
you arrived here, but, the last conversation I had, was, I saw the mayor one day and I told her that what I'd like them to do is come up with an agreement or something that they feel comfortable with, then, you know, present it to us, and then let's finally get something in writing. And then we'll decide, you know, on our part, if we're good with that part of it. I think it can be general enough that you can write the general way business would be conducted if we needed the city's assistance to provide us some work or a little bit of maybe excavation here or there. In the past, you know, we would call that in-kind services, I guess. But they would need to track those dollars, just like they're really spending those dollars. But that way we know what, you know, what each party's responsibility would be. Then when we get to a specific project, we could say, here's this project, this is the city's estimate of what our man hours are to do something like this, or this is, and then if it comes down to the fact that the city doesn't have the man hour time, then we as the FEDC just, you know, hire it done. But, we're trying to get away from things being done where we never had a written agreement at all. And I think
No
we need to have
accountability.
some sort of agreement that says, if we engage in this type of work with the FEDC, we know what each party needs to do and who we contact and how that needs to be ironed out.
I think we're waiting on the city.
Well, last conversation I had, I asked the mayor, I said, well, I would recommend that y'all go ahead and maybe design something and then let us review it. We can approve it from our board standpoint. Then it can go to the city council for final approval if everybody's good with it.
I suggest you get with the managers and talk to you, kind of work it, because it is, again, as he said, something that's been in process for a while, but we're both within the interim.
we need something in writing.
Yeah.
And I'll get with you in the next few days and we'll go over something.
Okay. Any other questions
Any
regarding?
questions on that?
Well, I don't want any questions, I understand there's like several projects that we're working on now concurrently, so if I'm understanding you correctly, you're saying like a generic overall understanding agreement that if we are going to partner on any projects, I'm just making up something, so we
Yeah.
say, do we have a general amount that, you know, not to exceed, or hours, or in-kind, to use your words, that we agree that each project will come down and come up with an in-kind or a dollar amount
Right.
to approval by your board, approval by my board, and then we go ahead, not to exceed.
Yeah, a cost
It's
factor,
just
how much
kind
we're
of
gonna charge for these
A
people.
protocol of who does what, when, and then that way, you know, we have an agreement, this is the way this will play out. And then the only attachment we have to attach to that is the addendum of the projected cost.
Right, the
And-
cost of the project, the address, or something like that.
Right.
So I'm looking at your, I have been told about this beer wine warehouse, and I know there's other issues of who owns the land, who owns the building.
Right.
And as a newbie, I don't know who owns what, so I have to find it out myself.
And she can do that, because on the beer warehouse, we bought it, FEDC, but then there was no original survey done. And when we just looked at selling it, we had a survey and found out the building's not all on our property. Part of the building is on the city property. So that's why we need to work out, because we need to dispose of it. Part of this land is joined to city. City has an old warehouse on it that I don't think is used, and y'all gonna wanna keep it, or y'all wanna dispose of it as well. So that's why you and
Right,
Tommy
I
need to
think
be
it just be
together.
a cleaner way, especially well, I mean, we start on the same day, so it's, just a cleaner way to go, because I don't have any history, so we can just say, here, going forward, we can write this down, and so later on, when it comes down history, we can say, it's in the contract.
Right.
That's what we're trying to do.
And that's what we're doing. I mean, I'm literally trying to start over along with you, so we'll have a
We'll have a very
discussion.
long discussion, but yes, I agree, no problem with my turn to the first crack
All
at it.
right, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions on that? So we really ain't got no action on that at this point. Allow Tommy and Henrietta to work on that. I'm gonna bring you up to speed on the discussion on the erection on that Top Gun tower out at there. So Ram went back and found an invoice where what happened on that. It appeared, and based on the memo that on it, that FEDC owns the tower. We own that tower for 10, 15, 20 feet, whatever it is. With Top Gun, they erected that tower for free with the right to be the solo and only exclusive provider of services off of it. So we own the tower, can do whatever we want to with it. Kurt had never come back in with anything. He said he had something, he thought, he may still have it, but he didn't bring it back in. But what we have, it looked like it provide service out there to those people in the park. It's an agreement where we pay for the material, the tower, and all the physical assets, and he had exclusive right to provide it, so we own the tower. So it's kind of a tenant in common, month-to-month tenancy type thing, so that's the issue there. I will also tell you that we had the survey done for Fraser, and we overlaid that with the retention pond, and that is right on the edge of the retention pond. So there could be, for him to clean it up, there could be an issue there of could you put guy wires and all. Mr. Howard, Berger and I have talked on it, what we would probably will want to do on that, and I bid with Jane, if we will just sell the land, if that's what the committee desire is, and then we will include that tower with the sale. And then Jane and Kurt can get together and see if they can work out the tower, what they want to do. James had said, hey, I have some tires, he might be willing to move it, put another tire up for him a lot taller and things like that. So we own the tire, we can sell the tire, we can do whatever the tire is, but as long as that tire is standing, Top Gun has exclusive right to provide service to it.
Whose land is it on?
It's on FEDC.
So it's not on, that was part of the like a right of way?
That part of the land that we're proposing to sell.
Is it proposed road?
Yeah, it's not part that we've already sold.
No. So that's the situation there, and we'll just, later on when we talk about F&W, that tower is located on that site.
So can he, if he can operate that tower as is without doing his guide wires, or I guess he'd be all right now?
I'm not gonna say that, because that tower, again, is right on the edge, based on the overlay of that retention pond. There's gonna have to be a lot of dirt brought in to build that retention pond. So that tower may have to be moved and come down anyway. Where they located that tower may necessitate it comes down. Whether we or the eventual owner of that agree with Kurt to relocate it somewhere else, that's a later discussion. But at this point, I can't tell you that tower is going to be able to stay there forever.
Do you have a copy of that?
It's not a letter.
It's an invoice, memo on
It's
it.
just an invoice, and it just says on that, FEDC reimbursing him for payment of the tower, and the asset, and he has exclusive rights. That's basically all it says.
So, I mean, that's one of those agreements that was never,
It's not a contract. It was never entered into a contract.
One of those handshake deals.
Well, and this was put up before ever they looked at, and when I say they, this is the prior, board and the group, before they ever knew a retention pond had to be put over there at that site, because they
Yeah.
had not done the drainage studies.
So to say that he's gonna be able to continue to use that tower and all, we can't right now because we don't know, you know, I can tell you, based on my conversation with, James Frazier, this cost of this retention pond is more than double what Heimer estimated, because they're gonna have to bring so much dirt in to thin that for that area. And so they're gonna have to bring in a bunch of dirt for that. And that, again, just by my elementary overlay of the survey and the retention pond, it is right on the border of it. It did sound, James sounded very receptive to being willing to work with Kirk to even put one taller out there, assist him, because that's what they do.
Yeah.
So it's not like it'd be a better thing for James to work within this.
So they can both, it's in their master plan, they can both work together, what they're gonna try to accomplish.
Yeah.
Be one less problem for us.
And that is true, but you know, at the same time, and of course, I'm sure you expressed this, we don't want to push a problem to Mr. Frazier if it's our issue.
That was it,
And-
his option, would you wanna do it, or would you want us to handle
Sure.
it? And he said, oh, I'd be glad to
Mhm.
work with him.
Bless him,
Do what?
bless him. He's been
But
very well.
that's the status on that. For being able to come in here and give him approval to extend it up, to put guy wires on it and all, we can't do that right now because there's the issue dealing with the retention pond. It's under contract for sale and things of that nature, so if you're gonna need it, that's all there is to it, right there. Never a contract.
Well, at least it's not a napkin.
So you suggested we table?
I just, no action, just let it be right now until. Any other questions on that? If not, we're gonna move on to new business. With y'all's permission, and I would like to move item H up to beginning. We have Ms. Irvin Galloway, the Deputy Executive Director of TRC, and Emma C. Garcia, who's the Executive Director, this is Camino Real Community Service, excuse me. And they're gonna be talking to us and trying to explain what they're looking at, wanting to do, as we vaguely talked about before, is to purchase the tract of land across from the veterans home. There's a tract of land, they're looking at possibly purchasing that. There's a lot of conversations and communication, so this will be a way to get a clear understanding of what they're wanting to do out there instead of having some misunderstandings on that. So with no further ado, Mr. Galloway and Ms. Garcia, y'all have the floor.
Okay. Let me, so I guess the first order of business is try to communicate who we are. This is my business card. Basically, we are the Community Mental Health and Mental Retardation Authority in Wilson County and an additional 8 counties out to the south. We've been in Floresville area. Actually, we started as a state operation, what was that, Emma, back in the mid-80s? When we have the shelter workshop, which is over on 3rd Street, which was the old Telchik building that was a foreclosure at the bank. And with the advisory board we had back then that worked with the state, that was one of our first programs in the area. We've also got the mental health clinic, which is in the old auto parts store that's across from the survey company. And that is a
for many years was a joint project with the Mental Health Advisory Board, and now was deeded over to the county, and we work with the Wilson County on that project. We also have the administrative offices, which is right next to the workshop over on 3rd Street. Between the workshop and the county attorney's office is our administrative offices that we have had for several years. And then we're leasing space out at the plaza where our ECI program is located. So there are 4 physical sites already in place in the community with varying ways of how we have those properties, okay? For years, we've had discussions with Marvin Queenie about our programs. We've had discussions with our board members and so forth. Is the idea of developing a complex where all of our programs were located at one site. So that's kind of a goal that we have. Let me talk a little bit more about exactly what do we do. The mental health clinic is a program where we have psychiatric services as well as rehabilitation services for people who have their challenge with schizophrenia, bipolar, or depression sorts of challenges. We basically provide those services on an outpatient basis every day. Around that program, we also have emergency services that where we provide the crisis hotline, for instance, that's available to all citizens, whereby they can call, and in an emergency, in a suicidal situation, something along those lines, we have immediate help available through that emergency system, and then follow-up, whether there's a need for commitment to a state hospital, or whether there's outpatient services that need to be provided the next day or over some period of time. And I'm going to just kind of skip through it fast, and then Emma, if you see some things that you think need more emphasis, certainly feel free. The workshop, the program that we've had here for many, many years, the whole idea there is for our intellectually and developmentally disabled individuals, previously known as mental retardation. We tried to provide a program where people